Stanton and the Miami Marlins travel to New York to face the Mets.
With right field towards the corner.
The pregame's at 3:30 Eastern, followed by first pitch at 4:30. Saturday on ESPN Radio.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, David Letterman drew nearly 14 million viewers to his final show. His biggest audience since 1994.
I'm Tony Kornheiser, and that gives me an idea. Welcome to our final show, people!
You're late.
Yeah.
No build up, no run up.
This garbage doesn't even work.
There weren't days and days and days of talking about our final show.
I like this. I feel like a seal. Yeah. Welcome to our last show, boys and girls. Tell your friends and neighbors to tune in. It's been a great run. And in today's final episode, Bryce Harper gets ejected. John Calipari prizes the draft over the title. And Isiah Thomas begins his charm offensive. But we begin today with the Cleveland Cavaliers stealing Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final last night in Atlanta. J.R. Smith scored the only points off the Cleveland bench, but there were 28 of them, mostly on 8 threes. LeBron James had 31, and his prime defender, DeMarre Carroll, went out injured in the fourth quarter, and he is questionable for Game 2. Wilbon, does it feel like this series is already over?
Tony, I normally hate these sorts of questions and presumptions, but it's totally fair, and it felt like it to me last night during the game. When Cleveland was pulling away, after DeMarre Carroll was on the bench, when J.R. Smith was going nuts. And, yeah, it does, Tony. I mean, I don't know how Atlanta can recover. Kyle Korver can't get free to make a shot or to even attempt a shot. And here's the thing. Thankfully, DeMarre Carroll's knee is not as injured as we thought it might be looking at the game live with the replay. But you can't send a gimpy guy out there to guard LeBron James. Mm-hmm. So what's your plan B on LeBron? What happens when other Cavaliers play better? And even if J.R. Smith gets half that many points, it's just going to be difficult for Atlanta, don't you think?
I picked Cleveland to win the series on the show yesterday. I think Cleveland is going to win, but there was nothing in this game that made me believe that Cleveland was going to separate itself from Atlanta based on this game. Well, I'll give you the reasons why. Okay, first of all, Kyrie Irving hurt his knee again, and that is very significant. Second of all, J.R. Smith is a fine shooter. He's not getting 8 threes again, right? And third of all, LeBron James is not a good jump shooter throughout the entire playoffs.
He's like 7 for 50 on threes now, right?
He was 5 for 13 shooting jump shots last night, which isn't good. He's shooting 30% on jump shots during the entire playoffs. So to me, Atlanta is as much in it as they were ever in it.
Really?
If they were ever in it, yes.
Tony, I looked at last night. You got your first playoff game. You're coming in there with some energy. You beat Washington. You clinched on the road.
Right.
You're pretty rested. You've had some days off. And, Tony, in the critical part, and I know it was an even game most of the way.
Mike, it was 4 points with less than a minute to go.
Right, Tony.
4.
Okay, so despite that, and despite, Kyrie Irving not even again, barely being there,
right,
they still couldn't really throw Cleveland down the stretch.
I understand, and I'll just say this one other thing. They also lost Game 1 at home to Washington.
That's
they
right.
Have
they
one
did.
critical. I don't think they're going to win, but I don't count them out because of last
This
night.
is encouraging. I'm glad you feel this way because it might mean a more competitive series than I was thinking.
Because I'm not smart?
Game
I don't think so.
Let's move to baseball. And last night's ejection of the hottest hitter in the game, your boy. Bryce Harper took issue with a called strike in the third inning of the Nationals game against the Yankees. That miffed home plate umpire Marvin Hudson. And after Harper took his time getting back into the box, Hudson chased him and eventually manager Matt Williams. After the game, Bryce Harper said, quote, "I don't think 40,000 people came here to see him up," close quote. Tone. Did Harper deserve to get tossed?
As you might imagine, I watched this live. My son Michael came over. He barbecued. Very good. Thank you, Michael. And we were watching this, and we could not believe it. Now, I'm going to give you the rationale for running the guy, and it goes pretty much like this. At that moment, it's a questionable strike. Harper, as you well know, steps away, doesn't look at the ump, doesn't want to show him up, and I'm sure mutters something terrible under his breath because all players do that. The umpire steps back because they're barking at him from the bench at this point, so Harper steps away. And then he says to Harper, "Get back in the box." And Harper, like a petulant little child, trying to see what his father is going to do, sticks his toe into the box, and the guy runs him. He had the ability to run him. He shouldn't have done it, Mike, because all those people were there to see the Yankees and see Bryce Harper and not to see this ump. But Bryce Harper gave the ump enough rope to yank him. He did. He did.
He did, Tony. I'm not going to disagree with a word you said in that analysis. I'm going to take it one step further. Should he have tossed him last night out of that incident? No.
No, he shouldn't.
But, Tony, here's the problem with the
Shouldn't have.
Nationals. And you go crazy at teams like the Clippers and teams of other sports you perceive as chippy, whiny little babies. The Nationals are turning into that.
Oh,
all they
they're
do
not turning
is chirp,
into it.
chirp,
They're
chirp.
it.
And so you know what I found myself doing?
Right.
I find myself saying, get him out of here.
No.
Get him. I'm tired of the Nationals already.
What
You've
the
done
umpires
nothing.
should have
You've
done,
earned
Mike,
nothing.
the umpires should have acted like a father and not, sort of a
Chase
father
Matt Williams
that wants
and
to get
Warren
back.
Bryce Harper, could he have gone that way?
Well, Matt Williams deserved to be run, and everybody knew he was going to get run. Here's the part you don't want to hear. They're 17-4 lately, and they are the 27 Yankees right now. Right
now.
now.
Larger
They're hitting
than a
home runs.
21-game sample.
Right now is all I said.
Okay.
John Calipari is making news today, and not for anything to do with the New Orleans Pelicans. Calipari made a speech at Rupp Arena and actually said this stuff word for word, quote, "Last year we started with a goal. You may think it was to win a national title or win all the games, but it was to get 8 players drafted. For me, the mission is to be a vehicle for others to reach their dreams." Get this, to be the stone that creates the ripple in their lives that goes on and on and on. Now, in our state, they want my mission to be win national titles, win national titles. My mission is bigger than that, unquote. Wilbon, should getting players drafted be more important than winning the national championship?
Let me go back for a second. Did you attribute that to Coach Cal or Martin Luther King?
It's an amazing quote, isn't it?
Who said that?
I mean, you're saying that to have it set in stone. That's what
Anybody
you do.
who watches this show knows how much we love Cal.
Yes.
We do.
Yes.
We've known him for a long time. We love having him on the show. We love interacting with him when he's not on the show. But, Tony, here's what happens when you become a god in a place like Kentucky, which values that basketball program above everything else, and, yes, including their horses. It's a God company. You think you can say anything, and people will believe it, and you will believe it. I'm not buying a single word of any of that, because if you win a national championship, and Cal's always in there because he's got great teams, and he's a great coach, you're going to get players drafted. Getting drafted is the byproduct of being good, not the other way around.
I'm going to make the case that I think Cal would make. As pretentious as it might seem, he would say, you know what? I'm a teacher at a university. These are college kids, and my main function in life is to prepare them for their vocation. Okay, that's the case you make. But if I'm running Kentucky, what I say to him is, I hired you to be the basketball coach. I want you to win all the games. If you win all the games, all your players are going to be drafted.
You're going to get drafted.
And by the way, Mike, honestly, when you use a phrase like, my mission is bigger than that, that is deliberately antagonistic to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, is it not? Doesn't it seem to you that Calipari is saying, I'm going to the NBA, just get the money on the table and I'm gone?
You know what, Tony? I didn't read anything into it. I thought
well, you read God complex into it.
Preposterous, Tony. Just because it's preposterous. Let me ask you something. The last undefeated team the whole way, Bob Knight, Indiana Hoosiers, 1976. Didn't they have a few people drafted?
I think they had
even though they weren't 1 or 2 and dones?
I think they had 6.
So what are you talking about? You win the games, guys get drafted.
Win every game. That's why I'm paying you $8 million. Win every game.
Stop. The Washington Capitals must be wondering why they didn't get this Henrik Lundqvist, the one who allowed Tampa Bay 6 goals for the 2nd straight game last night. Since stonewalling the Cappies in Game 7, Lundqvist, whose career postseason goals against averages, get this, 2.23, said he had trouble picking up the puck. Tony, if you're the Rangers, now down 2-1, do you seriously consider going to your backup for Game 4 in Tampa?
I don't seriously consider it. I do it. Of course I do it. He's given up 12 goals in 2 games. I don't care that when he faced the Capitals, he gave up 12 in 7 games. I don't care what he did in the last series. He's not playing well in this series. Mike, you're on the road. You're not embarrassing him at home.
That's right.
You put the secondary goalie out there, and if you don't do that, why are you even carrying another goalie?
Tony, I agree. You give him some rest. It's a long playoff series. You're playing every other day. Rest him. We've seen #1 guys come back in the playoffs after a rest. The Blackhawks did it. They did it by putting Scott Darling in there, and Corey Crawford came back a couple of days later. He just had 60 saves the other night in triple overtime. So nobody's saying that Lundqvist should be on the bench for long. But as we once said about Pat Riley with John Starks, have a seat next to me here, son, just for a minute, and let me get another guy in there. Oh, wait, Riles didn't do that, and they didn't win. Put Lundqvist on the bench for a minute.
Tampa Bay has scored 28 goals
They're great,
against him in like 6 games. It's almost 5 goals a game. They own him. They own him in the way that Ben Bishop owns the Rangers. He's 10-1 against the Rangers. If I'm Tampa Bay, I don't care if he gives up 8. I'm keeping him out there because he wins all the games. But you've got to sit this guy for 1 game.
Tony, I'm glad you mentioned Tampa. They're pretty good. They dismantled Montreal, and now they've gone back-to-back with 12 goals against the Rangers.
Isiah Thomas met the media today for the first time as president of the WNBA New York Liberty. Thomas's appointment has been very controversial, given his role as a defendant in a notorious sexual harassment suit. Thomas sought to win folks over. Let's listen.
I hope this isn't the last time you come back. I hope all of you decide to bring a family member, son, daughter, uncle, cousin, grandmother, whoever you want to bring. But come to the game and watch. Come to the game and write. That's what I ask.
Outside the Lines reports there's a groundswell of WNBA owners to deny Thomas part ownership in the Liberty. Wilbon, did Thomas help himself today?
Tony, I watched that whole thing. I certainly didn't think he hurt himself because, you know, when Isiah's before a mic, he knows how to use it. I mean, he knows how to interact and sort of directly connect with people. But I will say this. I think it depends on what you're looking for. For the people looking to say, you know what, why is Isiah back? You know, he didn't do much with the Knicks. Why is he back under these circumstances? They will find reason in that news conference to support that view. For people who want to support Isiah and say, I think he deserves his second chance despite what happened the first time around with the Knicks and with Dolan and all of that, they're going to find things within that press conference to support that view. So I think the key question here is what the other owners in the WNBA feel about Isiah and what they're going to do, if anything.
Yeah, like most people, I was stunned and outraged when Jim Dolan named him the president of the women's team and then said he was going to give him part ownership. I think it's the worst now for Isiah than it's going to be. If he gets through this, then maybe you write this great redemption story. But if I'm an owner, if I'm a woman owner in particular of a WNBA team, I'm saying, why are you doing this? Why are you putting this guy out there? What, are you kidding me? And I'm wondering about the NBA, and I'm wondering about, and I won't even talk about Adam Silver the way I usually do, but I'm wondering the stake that the NBA has in the WNBA. I'm wondering if they're going to involve themselves in this or just wait for the president of the WNBA to perhaps make a ruling. I don't think we've heard enough yet from the officials of the NBA. Do you?
Well, Tony, I don't think we've heard enough yet from the officials of the WNBA. I don't think if you were Adam Silver, you come in and just sort of Bigfoot the WNBA, which has a governing body.
I think you're consulting on this.
Yeah, Tony, yes. And you behind closed doors, you're having conversations about what it is you expect. But the WNBA has to take a position, and other owners, I want to hear from them. I'm glad we heard from Isiah. But you're right, Tony. This has a long way to go.
What you're right about, and it's always been true, is Isiah in front of a microphone is charming. His smile is fabulous, and you want to believe him. You always do. Let's take a break. But coming up, did Steph Curry deserve to get fined for this flop? Is the league singling him out? And did the NFL take a cheap shot at Tom Brady with a tweet that praised Andrew Luck and started with the letters P-S-I? Conspiracy everywhere. Where's he?
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Time for Something or Nothing. With Wilbon on the road, I will announce the topics, and Mike will go first. This could be a disaster, but who cares? Because, as I mentioned, it's our last show. Here we go, Wilbon. Something or Nothing. Curry's flop.
It's nothing. It's less than nothing. It's stupid to even point it out, but the league did that anyway. Tony, when they penalize and fine guys for this, Steph Curry, while taking a three-point shot, it's maybe a minimal contact, he goes down. This happens 100 times a night in the NBA when three-point shooters particularly are looking for the whistle, which they often get. Russell Westbrook goes down on every three-point shot he takes. Steve Kerr talked about Jamal Crawford, who I don't think goes down as much as a lot of people, but they all go down. And so to point out Steph Curry, it's dumb. I don't understand why the league did it.
Well, Curry even admitted that he thought Curry took a flop. It's a little something, only because Curry is the MVP. If I was Curry, I would shut up about this, because if you watch the replay closely, he is elbowing the defender out of the way in order to get the shot. It is Curry creating the contact. Mostly it's nothing, but just a little something. Only Mike, because he's the MVP. You ready?
All right,
Something or nothing. NFL's PSI tweet.
Tony, this is so dumb. I can't even believe anybody would notice this. But in trying to promote, and there's you see the Twitter page, and it deals with Andrew Luck. The first three letters of these particular words in that line vertically are P-S-I. So the league must be taking a shot at Tom Brady. Shut up. Who notices stuff like this? What losers don't have a life to the degree that they go around looking for things like PSI? Get a life. Go to work. I sound like Lee Elia, 30 years ago at Wrigley Field. This is less than nothing. This is dumb.
Are you done? Because
Yeah.
you couldn't be more wrong. This is
It's
a
dumb.
major something. The NFL, it's its own Twitter. It did it deliberately to shove it to Brady and to declare that Andrew Luck is our quarterback. It is not coincidental. If Brady serves all 4 games, I don't think he will, but if he does, he opens his season against Indianapolis. I do.
You don't believe
this.
It
is
is
a calculated, deliberate shot,
You
and
are
you're
taking
being an
an
idiot.
unbelible
You're being
shot
an
at the
idiot.
NFL.
Something
You
or
usually
nothing.
protect the
No,
shield.
it's a shot.
Protecting the
J.J.
shield.
Watt's bruise.
Tony, I think it's nothing for this reason. You and I spent a career going in locker rooms to talk to players after games. And people will know that football has these unbelievable bruises, and guys have suffered injuries during the game. They played through Ronnie Lott, a finger hanging off that had the blood is seeping out of it. You're like, oh, my God, Ronnie's standing there conducting post-game like nothing happened. And in baseball locker rooms, the raspberries on players, I'm going to say it's nothing because athletes suffer so many injuries, people have no idea.
He tweeted this out recently. It happened during the season. There's 2 things I want to say. One, I don't care if it's something or nothing. It's disgusting. It's primarily disgusting. And the question I want to ask is, did you see the size of his thighs compared to his calves? His thighs look like tree trunks. His calves look sort of like you or I might have those calves.
Got that speed,
J.J. Watt is the same guy who tweets out pictures of him bleeding when his nose.
Yeah.
What's the deal with your boy, J.J. Watt? Something or nothing.
Blood.
Korver's defense.
Well, we know it was nothing because he didn't actually play defense, Tony. Last night, late in the game, the Cavaliers sort of need to, speaking of blood, stop the bleeding, and they run this play coming out of a timeout, I think. LeBron goes right down Main Street, and Korver, like he's looking out toward Iman Shumpert or somebody who might shoot a 3, and he goes, wait, LeBron might pass it from 6 inches back out to the arc. No, he's not, but it's nothing.
You know why it's nothing? Because Kyle Korver isn't paid to play defense on LeBron James. He is paid to take 3-point shots.
Not doing that either.
LeBron James, with a full head of steam with his power, would have killed Kyle Korver. And then Kyle Korver wouldn't be able to play in however many games are remaining. So Kyle Korver did the smart thing here, because if LeBron goes to the rack like that, everybody but Damari Carroll gets out of the way, and he wasn't in the game.
That's a ludicrous song. Get out the way.
This game
is that ludicrous?
was something. He's your boy. And now it's nothing. Let's take one last break, but still to come, would the Lakers really pass on the 2 big men at the top of the draft?
Yeah, reality, he would tell us whether it was ludicrous. And can the Giants start trusting that Tim Lincecum is finally back to his Cy Young form? Move! Get out the way.
I know
I
Luda.
think that's ludicrous.
That was Luda. It's Luda, not ludicrous. Luda.
Major Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio. This season, the Mets have been a tale of two teams. One of the league's best at home and one of the worst on the road.
Towards the corner.
This weekend, they'll be at home at Citi Field facing the Marlins. Will their home field domination continue, or will Giancarlo Stanton lead Miami to a road win? The Mets and Marlins. The pregame's at 3:30 Eastern, followed by the first pitch at 4:30. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app.
Happy time, people. Happy 34th birthday, Josh Hamilton. Hamilton is on the road back to the majors with the Texas Rangers. Last night he hit a homer in Frisco in Double-A. Today he is scheduled to go to Triple-A Round Rock, and there's the possibility he will be up with the Rangers as soon as Memorial Day in Cleveland.
Tony, this is all great. I just hope it all works out well for him now that he's back in Texas. Whatever well means, mostly his health and well-being.
Not so happy anniversary, Anthony Rizzo. Around this day last year, you swung and missed at pitches that literally hit you not once, not twice, but 3 times in a 24-hour span. Wilbon, defend your boy.
His OPS is over 1,000, and he's hitting nearly 350. What else do you need?
Listen,
Cubs
you
have won like 6 out of
OPS,
8 games.
Mr. Analytics. How
You know what
great
I'm
is
saying?
that?
You know what I'm saying?
Happy trails, Todd Frazier. The Reds' third baseman was robbed of extra bases by the Royals' left fielder Alex Gordon. Watch this. It's a very good catch, and it's reminiscent of a catch Gordon made in the playoffs in Baltimore, where he again crashed into that fence. Kansas City paired that thing.
Yeah. I mean, how much does it cost to put some padding out there and help your outfielders out? We're talking about health of players being a priority.
Just one error in this, our final show. I said 6 Indiana players were drafted from that 1976 Indiana team. It was 7. Wilbon gave me bad information.
No, Wilbon didn't.
Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
The Lakers are reportedly intrigued by Emmanuel Mudiay and D'Angelo Russell. Could you actually see them passing on a big man?
Mitch Kupchak, who won as a player, who won as a coach, as a GM with Shaq, and big guys. He's had big guys everywhere he's been. West Huntsville. The average time of a Major League Baseball game now down to 9 minutes. Significant progress.
It's progress, and I'd like to see more, but it is certainly progress, I think. Tim Lincecum's ERA is down to 2.08 after 7 shutout innings last night. Is he all the way back?
Tony, it's a great story, but not all the way. Not yet. Rory McIlroy shot his 20th straight subpar round today. Is that a big deal?
I don't know about the 20th straight, but I know that he is #1 in the world by a mile at this point. Last one, Ducks at Blackhawks tonight. Let me guess, you have the Hawks.
Tony, undefeated 5-0 at home this postseason, but after triple overtime, I'm very concerned about an emotional letdown in the UC.
And so am I. We're out of time for the final time. There is no next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Yeah, same time tomorrow, knuckleheads. Check out the podcast on iTunes. I quit.